All right, welcome back. We're going to read chapters 19 and 20 of Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. "Oh, Mrs. Tobin," Akemi called out. "I need to use my librarian consultation." "You sure about this?" asked Kyle. "Well, that's the beauty of being a team. After we burn through mine, we'll still have yours." The hologram librarian appeared and advised Akemi that Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain was the book located right underneath the holographic image of Dr. Seuss and the Cat in the Hat. After Mr. Tobin vanished, Kyle and Akemi used their desktop computer to find the call number for Huckleberry Finn. Kyle grabbed a pen and scribbled it down on his palm. "Are you going to do what I think you're going to do?" asked Akemi. "Yep. I'm going to float up there, hoist myself into that nook where the hologram is, reach over to the window, push it open, and stick out my hand. Technically, I will have found my way out of the library. Nothing in the rules said anything about how far outside we had to go to win. You could fall." "I don't think so. I'm wiry, like a monkey." "Seriously, Kyle, it isn't worth it." Yes it is. Did I mention I want to win?" "You should improvise a safety harness," suggested Sierra Russell. "Huh?" "Well, in this adventure book I read once, the hero was in a very similar predicament, so he removed the curled handset wires from several telephones, bundled them together, and made a safety rope." 10 minutes later, Kyle, Akemi, and Sierra had stripped the springy wires off a couple of telephone handsets. Kyle looped the cables around his waist and tied the other end to the handrail of the hover ladder. When fully extended, the safety rope would stretch out to a little more than 20 feet. It should work. "Be careful up there," said Akemi. "Yes," said Sierra, who wasn't reading her book anymore. Apparently, watching a real live person risk his real live life by doing something really, really scary was one thing more exciting than reading. Kyle locked his feet into the hover ladder's ski boot brackets. Here we go. Serious adrenaline raced through his body as he tapped the call number for Huckleberry Finn into the hover ladder's book locator keypad. "When you open the window," said Akemi, "just shout, 'I found the way out,' and we win." "Right," said Kyle, "all three of us." "Huh?" "Well, hey, Sierra came up with the safety rope idea. She's on our team now, too." "Fine, whatever. Just don't break your neck." "It's not part of the plan." Kyle pressed the enter button on the control panel. The platform floated up off the ground and drifted slightly to the right. "Be careful," said Akemi. "Watch it." "I'm not doing anything," said Kyle. "This thingamajiggy's doing all the work. I'm just along for the ride." Kyle gripped the handles as the platform rose higher and higher. He sailed past books by Tolstoy and Thackeray. Tilting back his head, he looked up at the semi-transparent statues projected into the curved niches next to the arched windows. They were a weird mix. A thoughtful African-American man in a three-piece suit and a bow tie. A guy with long, curly hair, old-fashioned clothes, and a looking glass. A long-haired dude in a scruffy shirt hiding behind cutouts of the letters P and B. A bald guy with a beard. Since the statues were really holographic projections, they had chisel-type labels floating in front of their pedestals, identifying who the famous people were. The ones closest to Kyle were George Orwell, Lewis Carroll, Dr. Seuss, and Maya Angelou. As he continued to climb, Kyle could hear the soft whir of the electromagnets invisibly lifting him toward the ceiling. And then he heard something much louder. "What a ridiculous idea!" Charles Chiltington. He was standing on the second-floor balcony at the far side of the rotunda. "You know, Keeley, I thought about doing the same thing, but then I noticed something that you obviously overlooked. There's a wire mesh security screen on the other side of those windows." The levitating platform stuttered to a stop. "Enjoy staring at the ceiling, Keeley. I'm off to win yet another game." Kyle ignored Chiltington and grabbed hold of the ledge beneath Dr. Seuss's berth. He tried to haul himself up, but his feet wouldn't budge. They were locked in place by those ski boot clamps. And this close to the skylights, Kyle could see that Chiltington was right. There was a security screen on the other side of the windows. Kyle checked his wristwatch. It was 1 p.m. He and his teammates had wasted an hour on that lame window idea. He sighed heavily and stared up at the quivering Seuss projection in the bowed niche above his head. The Cat in the Hat's mouth started to move. Think left and think right, and think low and think high. Kyle recognized the voice. It was Mr. Lemoncello. Oh, the things you can think up, if only you try. In other words, Kyle was back to square one. He needed to think up a whole new escape plan. The ladder began a slow and steady descent to the floor, even though Kyle hadn't pushed a button. Don't listen to Smarmy Pants Charles, Akemi coached as Kyle coasted to the floor. It was worth a shot. I agree, said Sierra. A blood-curdling scream came ringing up the staircase from the basement. That's Haley, said Akemi. I saw her go downstairs. That's where the stacks are, added Sierra. Come on, said Kyle. She could be in serious trouble. You should never help your competition, Keeley, scoffed Charles as he casually strolled down a spiral staircase. Unless, of course, you always play to lose. Chapter 20. Losers. That's what Charles Chiltington thought about sentimental saps like Kyle Keeley. A damsel in distress starts screaming, and he forgets all about winning the game to go rescue her? What a pathetic loser. Unless, of course, Haley Daly was screaming because she had already found the alternate exit. That made Charles laugh. Impossible. Although quite pretty, Haley Daly, the princess of the 7th grade, was a total airhead. There was no way a dumb girl like her could have outsmarted Charles Chiltington. It was time to play his hunch. Twice already, the head librarian, Dr. Zinchenko, had said, "The library staff is here to help you find whatever it is you're looking for." She said it once when they were just about to enter the library, again when she was reading the laundry list of rules. Well, what Charles was looking for was a way out of the building that wasn't the front door and wouldn't set off any alarms. That was why he kept coming back to the lobby with the gurgling fountain, why he kept studying the display case labeled Staff Picks, our most memorable reads. "The staff is here to help," he muttered. "These are staff picks. Ipso facto, this has to be some sort of enormous clue." Inside the sealed bookcase, Charles saw 12 book covers. One for each of the 12 12-year-old players, he wondered. The display items weren't actual books. They were cover art mounted on book-sized foam core. 3 covers were lined up on each of the case's 4 shelves. Since they weren't actual books with spines, none of the covers included their call numbers. Charles focused on the 3 books lined up on the bottom row. Hoosier Hospitality was on the left. In the Pocket, Johnny Unitas and Me was in the middle. The Dinner Party was on the right. Charles decided to concentrate on the Johnny Unitas title. He moved into the rotunda and did a quick card catalog search on one of the desktop computers. When he typed "In the Pocket," a matching cover image popped up, but still no call number. In the spot where the identifier should have been, there were instead a censor's thick black box and the words "ID temporarily removed from the system." Scrolling further down the screen, Charles came across a rather unusual annotation. "You didn't really think we'd make it that easy, did you?" Charles grinned. The computer was telling him he was on the right track. He glanced up from the desk. The children's room was directly in front of him. The book about Johnny Unitas, with its cartoony cover depicting a football player wearing a number 19 jersey and dropping back to launch a pass, was most likely a children's book. Of course, it was also a sports biography. So, would it be shelved with sports books, biographies, or children's books? Charles went back to the computerized card catalog. He read the book's description. Billy wants to be a great quarterback like his hero, Johnny Unitas, but his coach is worried he'll get hurt. It sounded like fiction, a made-up story. It had to be in the children's room. As Charles crossed the slick marble floor, something else struck him. This was like Husker Du, a memory game he had played when he was in kindergarten. He was on a hunt to find a hidden match for a football book cover he had just memorized. This was, in short, another memory game, and that was why the Staff Picks display had been subtitled Our Most Memorable Reads. "Clever, Lemoncello," he mumbled. "Very clever indeed." Charles entered the children's department. It didn't take him very long to find the book because In the Pocket was propped up on a miniature stand on top of a shelf. "Found it!" Charles proclaimed. Then, savoring the moment, he picked up the book and read the title out loud. In the Pocket, Johnny Unitas and Me. All of a sudden, a row of animatronic geese tucked into a corner of the room started honking and singing. They call him Mr. Touchdown. Yes, they call him Mr. T. The squawking bird startled Charles so much that he dropped the book. And when he did, a 4x4 card fluttered out from behind its cover. Charles bent down to pick it up. Printed on the card was a black and white silhouette. A quarterback wearing a number 19 jersey, just like Johnny Unitas, was arching back his arm to throw a pass. Charles grinned. He was definitely on the right track. He tucked the silhouette card into his pocket and hurried back to the lobby to memorize more book covers. All right, so Chilton just got a clue card, and here is the image that he got on his card. Throughout the rest of the book, as the players continue playing the game, we'll probably find more clue cards. If you were really into the book and you really wanted to try to keep track of the clue cards, you could try to sketch them out or maybe jot down some notes about what each of the clues are, and maybe you can figure out the message before the kids in the book do. All right, see you next time.